So I have decided I'm going to start a new series on our channel. The first skill that kind of started me on this journey of learning a new skill a month was learning goat milk mozzarella. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Megan and this is Patsy. So I have decided I'm going to start a new series on our channel, and it's going to be all about learning a new skill a month. A creator that I follow on Instagram made a reel the other day and was like, if you learned one skill a month for the next year, where would you be at in a year? So that's 12 skills. Sometimes when you think about that, it seems so daunting, but if you break it down to just, it feels so daunting, but if you break it down to just one, month by month, it doesn't feel as daunting. Can you? And that really resonated with me, and I kind of started doing it. And I may not have thus far stuck to exactly one skill a month, but I have been trying to learn a new skill. The very first skill I started doing was using my goat milk to make mozzarella cheese. And that is something I've wanted to do for 2 years now, basically since we brought dairy goats home. And I struggled with milking, rather just having the Nigerians and being a young herd and not having the supply, or having having several bottle babies and not having the milk, or whatever. Having to dry does off early for their health and their condition, whatever it was in that moment. Yes, my dairy goats are clearly abused and hate their lives and will never recover from the things we do to them here for raising them. And don't worry, the adults are floating around too. But I have to keep patting Mate though, Patsy. You're Patsy. Patsy, or she starts headbutting me. So the first skill I learned was my mozzarella cheese, and that's the first skill I'm going to share with y'all. Goat milk mozzarella. Milk. Do you want a glass of milk? Yeah. Where's your cup? In true toddler fashion, he's seen the milk come out, and of course he needs a cup right now. So, here you go. Today, the first skill that kind of started me on this journey of learning a new skill a month was learning goat milk mozzarella. And the cool thing with this recipe is you can also use just whole cow's milk from the store too. So even though you don't homestead like we do, you could still do this recipe at home if you just want to learn how to make mozzarella. And it's really simple, and you only need a few things and a few ingredients. One is obviously a gallon of whole milk, a fourth teaspoon of rennet. Pretty sure this is animal rennet. I got it from my local little Amish store down the road. And then also a teaspoon and a half of citric acid. So very few ingredients for something that's really good. My kids love it. My husband loves it. We have taken it and fried it into like cheese sticks, or really more cheese logs. So we've done a lot with this cheese. I have shredded it. I've shredded a bunch of it, put it in the freezer for winter. And when we don't have as much milk, hopefully that's becoming less and less of a problem. But I did shred some, put some in the freezer. We eat it just in slices. We eat it warm. It is delicious. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get 16 cups of whole milk in our heavy bottom pot. I'm pretty sure this is a 5-quart. We got it on Amazon. It's not the best like Dutch oven you can get, obviously, but it does the job for us really well, and I do like it. We'll leave a link in the description to the blog post that I followed. I also learned this from a YouTube video, Heather at Sage and Stone Homestead. I said it right for once, guys. So you can also find her video on how to do it. But we both followed the same blog post as well, so we'll be sure to link that in the comments. So I have not even turned my pot on yet. It is still cold, and we're gonna get our teaspoon and a half of citric acid and sprinkle it on top. Then I got up my wood spoon and I'm gonna stir that a little bit. We're gonna heat this on medium heat. On my stove, that's like a 4. When I tried to do it on a 5, it tried to scorch, and we don't want to scorch it. So I do on my stove on a 4, so you can kind of play with that, and then depending on how you know your stove. Here comes the boring part about this, is we have to heat this to 90 degrees. And right now, it is like at 30 degrees because it came out of the fridge. So it's just a waiting game. A lot of times when I'm making my cheese like this, I am doing a few dishes here and there. I am freezing milk while this is waiting to heat. And what I'll do is I just stir it a little bit. What I do is I just stir it a little bit here and there and check on it. And then I don't have anything fancy. It's just a cheap meat temperature from Walmart. But I'll just stir it a little bit here and there, and then I'll break and come back to it in a few minutes and check the temp again. So while that's freezing, or not freezing, while that is warming, I'm going to freeze the rest of this jar of goat's milk, and probably a little more. I freeze our goat milk so I can make goat milk lotion. So I can make goat milk lotion and soap. I'm going to try to make lotion with just like warm milk out of our, not warm, but just milk out of our fridge, not frozen. Just because it skips a step, because when I make lotion, I have to thaw it out anyways. When you make goat milk soap, you need frozen milk. So I can skip a step if I do the lotion without freezing it. But I'm freezing the milk in 6-ounce integrals, and I do it in breast milk bags. And I like doing that because I can make these nice little bricks. Hold on, I can show you a brick actually. So here's one of my goat milk bricks. Just like if you have frozen breast milk, this is where I got the idea. And I know there are 7 bags in here, 6 ounces each. So this bag is 42 ounces of goat milk, and I can count my bricks in my freezer really quickly to know where I'm at. I lay them flat in my, I lay the bags flat in my freezer in my house. I've got a baking sheet in there, so I just lay them in there and freeze them. Usually within 2 hours, I can put them in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, and then this can go out to the deep freezer. So I try about every other day to freeze 7 of these bags. And I do 7 because they fit on my baking sheet really nicely. And then 7 translates into these really nicely as well. So I fill my bottle up to 6 ounces, and then I use part of a breast pump to put it in the bag. And then you got a little bag of goat milk that goes in the freezer, and then I can use this for soap later on, because what I did in the past is I can just cut the bag and then set it in the bowl, and I know this is 6 ounces. Check our milk again. We're at 63 degrees now, and we just wait until we get to 90. While our milk continues to heat up to 90, the next thing we need is to get a cup of water, kind of cool water, and then we're going to mix in our 4th teaspoon of rennet. And that's all we need this for. So this can go back in the fridge, and this will wait until we're at 90 degrees. We've hit 90 degrees. So we're going to turn off our burner. We're going to move our milk off. And let me shuffle my camera, because this is really fun. Okay, so we're going to take our cup of rennet and water and pour over the back of our spoon so it goes evenly as possible. Very gently, we're going to mix it up just a little bit, kind of pushing down. But you can already start to see cheese happening. So, tap our spoon off. We're going to cover it with the lid and let it sit for 5 minutes. A couple times when I've done this recipe, I have had to let it I have had to let it sit for about 6 or 7 just because of the temperature of your house and how it's working that day. So once our 5 minutes is up, we'll check it and I'll show you what you're looking for, and hopefully we have it going on and we can move on to the next step. So here's our pot. You can see kind of the way is that clear right there. So we're going to take our knife and we're going to cut the curd away. And you want this clear separation right there. So we're going to cut it in a checkered pattern. So now we've returned this back to medium heat. Now I do have it on a 5 because it can be a little warmer. And we're going to stir this up. And we're going to heat it all up to 105 degrees. And what that does is that helps the curd separate from the whey and get all nice and cheesy, if that's a term. I don't know. But that's what you have to do. And I'm just checking to see where we're at temperature-wise, because heating up to 105 doesn't take near as long as getting to 90. And as we get closer to that 105, I'll notice my curd starting to kind of sink, and I'll start using my spoon to start to kind of form it into one big piece. We stir this around a little bit and just give it time. So you can see that a lot of the curd has kind of sink to the bottom. So we're coming up on 100 degrees, and I'll start using my spoon to start pushing my curd, my little pieces, into one big piece. Now here's where I get a little different than a lot of people. I do not strain with a cheesecloth, and the reason that is I have a long-haired black dog and a longish hair, a shedding machine blonde dog. And so anytime I try to use like a cheesecloth to strain, the first time it's fine, but after I wash it and try to use it a second time, it's got too much hair on it because there's just hair everywhere in my house. Doesn't matter how many times I vacuum, there's just hair. So I just strain my cheese straight into my colander, and the little tiny bits that I lose, I just lose them. It's not the best option, but it is what works for us. So we're going to strain this, and then we're going to stretch the cheese. And the way we stretch our cheese is a little different than a lot of you'll see mozzarella cheese people do, is they'll stick it back in the whey and let it stay warm in the whey, and then they stretch it and put it back in the whey. I actually use the microwave. I have never done it with trying to keep the whey warm and stretching it and putting it back. I haven't done that. So there are other people who are very successful doing it. This is just what works for us and what works for the person who we got my recipe from. And a lot of times I do save the whey and feed it to the chickens or use it in our compost. But today I don't feel like messing with it because of the weather. Whoop! That's lushed. So now our big ball of mozzarella is down here, and I'm going to the pieces, get it all together, get in a ball. And I have a microwave safe bowl, and we're gonna heat this for 1 minute. We're gonna heat this for 1 minute to start with. Okay, you can see a little bit more waves come out. So I'm gonna drain that off. And this is a very messy step, and a lot of people wear gloves. I ran out of gloves, so I'm just gonna have to do it. And the cheese is gonna be hot, but that's okay. We just fight through it. Woo. And we just stretch. I have no idea what's happening in the rest of my house. And we're looking for about 12 inches without tearing. So sometimes I have to reheat it, and other times we can just slowly work with it. Little tearing. You don't want to overwork it, which is possible, because if you overwork it, it becomes a little chewy and dry almost. But that is about right. And what I do next is going to be kind of weird too. So I'm going to flatten this out a little bit. And I'm going to take about a teaspoon of salt and salt it. And then we fold it back up. And once again, it's going to have some more liquid in it. So we're going to take it over back to my sink. And we're just going to squeeze. And we're going to kind of form it into the shape of the container that it's going to go in. So I'm going to put this in a round bowl. So I'm just going to kind of make it round. But that is mozzarella cheese. Now you can also store this with some of the whey on top of it. And then it stays more like that fresh mozzarella. I like doing it like this. If I want fresh mozzarella, I'm just nibbling on it. So we just take like a pinch of it now. I'll get a couple pinches of it and I'll just eat that. It's really good fresh like this too on a pizza. We did those the other day. But I'll leave it in the fridge with a lid on it and we can shred this and use it. We'll also just cut it and, like I said, make mozzarella logs with it in the deep fryer. We're going to put it in our container. I made it a little too flat. But there's our cheese, and we love it. But I like it just like this as a little snack for actually doing it. And I said earlier I had been freezing some of it, so this is some of the frozen. I shredded this up, and this one I didn't write. Normally I write how many cups this is. I think this is a 4-cup log. So when we want to use this, and when it, you know, I don't have time to make cheese, or you know the goats are dry for a little bit, and we're not getting if a lot of our goats are dry and we're not getting as much milk daily, we can just open up some of our frozen cheese and have it. I haven't froze any of like logs or like the little bowls of it like I just put that cheese into. I've mostly I have shredded all that I have frozen. We've used the shredded on baked spaghetti. I've used it on pizza. I've used it, I think I made the kids a quesadilla with it. More like a pizza quesadilla kind of thing. But we love our mozzarella cheese. And this is one skill that I'm so happy I learned. And maybe you'll want to learn it too. But that's all I got for you today, guys. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.